Hello everyone, and welcome back to O'Neill Cylinder Construction in Kerbal Space Program 1.12 with Realism Overhaul, where I continue to build a massive station 1.2 kilometers long and 150 meters in radius using my custom parts and my very custom launch vehicle, and see if it's all going to work out. It is not guaranteed to all work out, as we've already seen in this sequence where the docking ports weren't working and waterfall effects weren't working on the launcher. I think I have fixed the docking ports. Not too sure about the waterfall effects. We'll see. We'll see either way. One of the conundrums, however, is that while I might have fixed the docking ports on these new parts, what about the stuff on the station that we already have? Because there are already these modules, these plate dock modules on the station, and if those docking ports aren't fixed yet, because they would need to be relaunched, then I'm out of luck and I'll probably have to start the construction all over again, even if these do work. So hopefully the fix works for those. I'm not sure. Other considerations to talk about. People have noted that it is strange to try and build a O'Neill cylinder from Earth's surface. O'Neill cylinder is meant to be built in space from space resources. And that's great. That really is how it ought to be, and we wouldn't need this huge launcher if we could do that. The problem is I have no idea how to set up my parts to work with some sort of system where we could build things in space. I know such systems are out there, orbital construction docks from USI, for instance, but I don't know how to configure my parts to make use of those. So that's something else I'll have to figure out. I think, good at making parts, but I'm not always great at understanding what the heck other people's mods do. KSP Interstellar, USI, I've struggled to work with these things before, and some bits I understand, other bits I have no clue about. And orbital construction with USI or any other mod is something I've never done before. And that's an involved process because you have to get the resources from another planet and then bring them over and then build stuff. It's a lot easier in stock, of course, where all that can happen much faster. In Realism Overhaul or Real Solar System, that takes a long time to bring stuff over from other planets to build something like that. So I've never had the time to try it out. So we're doing it like this. This is, I don't know if we can call this the easy way, but it's the only way I know right now to test out this implementation of the O'Neill cylinder. Somebody else asked, what about just launching the whole O'Neill cylinder in one go? Yeah, that'd be easier. That would be straight up easier. For somebody who can make the parts, that's a breeze. All you do is you put a nose cone on top of the O'Neill cylinder, fuel tanks inside the O'Neill cylinder, engines at the bottom of the O'Neill cylinder. Since it's just a hollow cylinder, you can just launch it like that. You might need boosters, but yeah, I could just make the boosters. No matter how big it is, as long as the whole thing is going to stay in render range, and by design, the O'Neill cylinder that I've made is 1.2 kilometers in length, so that it does stay in render range. Yeah, as long as that's the case, I could just launch it like that. So, but the goal was to have a way to construct it, which is much more difficult, of course. So yes, launching it in one piece is a lot easier, even though it's huge, of course, but once you have the ability to mod things, stuff being big isn't necessarily a problem. So I can make things as large as I feel like I've made the Starship Enterprise Star Destroyers, the Death Star. We can do big. This is the more complicated thing. As with the previous bunch of stuff, the hub parts, I've decided to just put the RCS directly on here instead of having tugs handle the work. So we've got these arm pieces. The 12 pieces is enough for one set of these arms for one section, and altogether I was planning 6 sections. Or yeah, that's right. So anyway, let's bring it outside and see if it all works. A lot can go wrong here. I've tried to make a KOS script for it, but it absolutely does not work from the ground. Well, maybe it will now. I've made a change. I told the engine not to require ullage, so let's see if it works. So what happens with the KOS script is it keeps trying to shut off the engines when it initializes, which is a bad thing. And there's like a loss of thrust that eventually gets the engines unsettled once the clamps release. So I've tried to solve that by not letting the fuel get unsettled on this at all, because that's just the only way I could figure that out. The other option is to start by launching it myself and have the script pick up after 300 meters in altitude, but that has other problems. That still causes it to drop the thrust and like hover for a little bit before continuing. It's a weird thing. I don't think I've got my waterfall noise effect. I don't know why it goes down. We have enough thrust to go up. Well, see. I mean, the thrust is enough thrust for this to go up. There's no excuse for it to go down at all. Okay, well, maybe if I set it up higher so it can drop more. But this is the problem. I don't know why KOS has it drop when, if I do it, it's fine. It's not releasing the clamps early. We have enough thrust. At least according to MechJeb, we have enough thrust. So it's some peculiarity of releasing the clamps. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna raise it up. I don't know what else to do. And hopefully it won't drop so much. That's all I've got. Alright, well, let's see if this theory works out. If this doesn't work this time, I'll just launch it manually. So we can see we are at 31, let's say 32,000 tons. So we're looking for minimum 320 meganewtons. Ooh. And we're above that when it releases the clamps. Come on. I don't know why it goes down at all. Oh, something blew up. Oh, one bit of that one. And it's tilting. It shouldn't be tilting. Oh gosh. Alright. I'll just launch it myself. Can't get any help from KOS, I suppose. Oh, wait. It's not reading our drag. Sometimes that happens with FAR. Well, I can't have that. We need realistic drag. I'll have to restart the game, it looks like. There's just been a lot of problems with this. Like, sometimes FAR does not want to read the drag on this vessel. Alright, so first thing, let's check that it has drag. Yes, it does. Or at least the drag coefficient is changing, and we get some drag reading there, because it's wiggling around. Alright, SAS on, throttle up, and I should target the cylinder. we have other things that I need to figure out here. Boy, things are sort of shaking there too. Alright, let's see if we can get going here. Ignition. Don't necessarily know if this can carry this particular load. Each load has been sort of different so far. Okay, go. Okay, I think I've got the sound situation settled. We are getting continuous sound out of the engines now. A mild sound, but a sound nonetheless. And far to side hide. We need to keep an eye on that drag. So other things people have mentioned to me, it doesn't look like the arms can actually bear the thrust. That's mainly because I mean, first of all, cheated quite a lot on the hinge itself, but by design it was meant to be a little bit more complicated than this. There are supposed to be pistons on this side and other supports, and also a piston on this side that is supposed to be there. So I sort of cheated on all that because that's a lot of animation to do, and I will get to it eventually. If I want to make a cinematic of the construction of all this, once I've verified that the parts actually work, I'll probably add that stuff to it to make it look a little bit better. But as I reminded some people, the SRBs on the space shuttle are connected by fairly small bits of metal. I mean, at least they would seem to be small bits of metal, and those have quite a significant amount of thrust too. Those would be each 14 meganewtons. Each arm here is bearing about 50, so it is more, but these aren't little bits of... they aren't little metal struts either, so... Doesn't seem like this payload gets as much drag as some of the others. But as we get closer to the speed of sound, it's going to be bad. So the reason why we weren't getting sound from these effects before is because this has an RCS system as well. And the RCS system was using a power effect called running. By default, the waterfall plumes assumed that running was the engine one. But when you have a mix of engines and RCS on the same part, the engines tend to take a different effect called running closed, or at least that's the convention. And so I had to tell the waterfall plume that it should be applying itself to running closed instead of running. That was the issue. Okay, passing the sound barrier. We are past Mach 1 already. These are individually the smallest modules of the station, but as a pack, they are pretty heavy. I think each of these is over 60 tons. Not including the fuel that's in them so that they can operate independently. Well, it seems like I'm gonna have to deal with 0.6 degrees at a node instead of right now. We're just gonna have about that much due to the launch timing. So there are two things we need to worry about. First of all, whether these can dock to each other, and I think they will be able to. Each of the arms has 2 of these. And then whether they can dock to the existing station, which is a little bit harder because that requires the parts that we already have up there to be fixed with the fix that I did. They could be fixed. It depends on whether the persistent file picks up on the changes that I made to the parts. Sometimes, for some things, it works, like a change in the center of mass. That'll work, but for other things it doesn't work. Like resources won't work. The resources are baked into the persistent file that once you launch, you would have to relaunch to change what resources you have in there. Okay, we're getting a little bit out of control. I'll have to do another burn to boost this up a little bit more. Let's see. The target's behind us, so we can get to a higher orbit and then let it catch up. Our apoapsis is pretty close to our ascending node there, so I'm just going to boost at our ascending node. But unfortunately right now the RCS does use the same effect as the engines. Yep, that's true. Okay, a slight burn here. Oh, right on it. 0.0. Okay, I don't know if this is gonna have enough to deorbit though. I think we should just use the pack of arms to do everything else, maybe. Okay, I'm going to raise the engines and separate those off and let the pack do its thing. Oop. Okay, that's more sound than we needed. Uh-oh, they're wiggly arms. No! Why are you suddenly wiggly? No! Other arms didn't suddenly get wiggly? Ah. Okay, hold on. um... Gosh darn it. Why does it always have to be this way with Kerbal? Okay, we're gonna have to auto strut them. I'm gonna try and pick it up from right here before it saves, so I'm just gonna force quit and see if I can restore it. And then I'm gonna auto strut them before releasing them. Grandparent part. So that should be across the docking port. Well, let's see if that works first. Sometimes we just need struts. Okay, they're floating off safely. Okay, that would be good if we can do it. 1.3 kilometer encounter. Doing fizz warp after what we just saw with these is a little bit worrisome, but it looks like it's alright. Alright, that does it. I want to go back and do the deorbit burn for this. Okay, it is deorbited, but we're too far away to jump to the other one. Alright, it's right there. I might have wanted to start this burn a little bit earlier. Oops. Why do I get the feeling it's gonna be in the dark again? It's gonna be real scary getting close to this thing when it's even larger. I'm just gonna try and park it here until we get to daylight again, which is in a bit. Okay, we're in daylight again. And it's time to do the business. Or check if we can. So, first, I'll release one of these. And we'll try to dock two of them together. Okay, doesn't look quite right. Let me try control from here again. Well, says I'm controlling from the right things. I don't think we're lined up right. How is that possible? Oh, it docked. But it docked badly. Gosh darn it. Okay, undock. I told it to point at target and then it rotated. Maybe it wasn't keeping negative parallel as I thought it was. This is all very finicky. I probably should increase the tolerances. Okay, we've docked and it's not rotated weird. Okay, but docking to that is another problem. Well, we've got 2 meters per second towards that. That's probably too much. So, one type of docking works. The question is whether I can dock this to one of those locations. And we're too far away to actually declare that my target right now. Great. Okay, shifting into position. Will I be in luck? Will this have been fixed, or is this one still busted? I did look at the persistent file, I couldn't figure it out. I mean, I couldn't figure out whether this particular part is still a mess or not. Which might be a good sign, because if it's not clearly in the persistent file, maybe it just grabs that from the configuration file, in which case we'll be alright. Don't know why, it always seems to be a little bit more offset than I expect though. Yeah, once again, not quite right somehow. Okay, it connected, but once again the target did not seem to be quite in the right position. So that's peculiar, but it looks like we've got something that works. Okay. I hope that's the right distance. I'm looking at it. I hope I don't have an extra one of these parts. The plate dock parts, and that's right. Oh well, I guess once we bring the plates up, I'll figure that out. Okay, next. Sort of crazy doing all this in such close proximity. Well, still didn't want to connect. I'll just try and have it turn to the port. Oh, no, it's rotating. Oh, it did that thing where it connected after rotating. Don't know why these especially want to do that. Okay, it docked. Gosh. Yeah, I'm gonna need to increase the power of those. Alright. I'll be honest, I'm probably going to do some of this off camera. It's better if I take my time, I think, than if we have a mishap right on the last arm. Then we have to flip around. A lot of RCS puffing down there. I don't need that. Okay, it connected. Alright, 2 arms on, 4 more to go. But I think for the episode, I'll leave it here. And I'm gonna save right now. Alright, so there you have it. That is the progress on the O'Neill cylinder construction, and with that I'll say thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do press like. If you have any comments or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I'll see you next time.